this is Rumor, and I hope you all had a happy Halloween, happy Samhain. I myself, as you can see, have barely made it out alive, but it was a great time. Trick-or-treating was a wonderful success last night. By 7:30, I was already sending my husband out to get some backup candies when we were running threateningly low, even though I thought I had way over budgeted for this year. So it's so fun to see trick-or-treating really pick up in the UK like this. All the little costumes were so adorable. And of course, big kid that I am, I got dressed up too. So good times all around. And now just the aftermath of getting Halloween packed up, which is always so sad. And yet it makes me sad to see the decorations up after the actual day has passed. Because it's just not the same, right? Life moves on. So today, actually, I will be addressing that to an extent. It's influencing the decks that I'm going to be using, at least at the beginning of this month, as we see how the cycle of life goes. So if you will join me momentarily at my tarot table, I will briefly show what I'm up to this November. Okay, so here we are at my November tarot table, and here are my decks for at least this first week of the month, starting with the Marigold Tarot, which I knew was just a matter of time before I was going to acquire, because I found myself referencing that one more than once, I believe, in recent videos, and it's just one that I've always had in the back of my head. Ever since I saw it, I've been adding it and removing it from my shopping cart and talking myself out of it, mainly because, as you can see in the center here, I've got the Santa Muerta Tarot, which I love, and I like to pull this one out for this time of year, well, especially being, for Day of the Dead. I do think it's a lovely deck to use for ancestor work, but I think the Marigold Tarot could also do that swimmingly as well. I don't know. So I just basically got it already. Or finally, so that I could just see, I mean, maybe it's in my own head that these two would be too overlapping with each other. I just feel like I would like to experiment with the both of them this week and see if I am indeed wanting to use them for the same things, because I have just recently cracked open the Ancestral Tarot book, and I've only done like the first couple of preliminary spreads, and I have found myself really wanting to use the Santa Muerta for that. And I don't know if that's because I'm just already familiar with it. I guess maybe because it's also not as pippish as Marigold Tarot, and I don't know. To see the bright color and everything after working with so many dark decks over the last month, I'm kind of like feeling the color and feeling the vibes of it. And the skeletons in this deck are just so lively. There's so much personality conveyed through them, and it's just such a beautiful, beautiful deck. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're called to use that. But then that being said, the Marigold, as I will show eventually, so gorgeous as well, and in just a completely different way. And I don't know. So I just feel like I'm going to use this time to explore how I might use one versus the other, if there is any overlap in that, if I would ever use them in spreads together for almost as like a light and a shadow, having this, the colorful one in the light, and this with just this like very kind of monochromatic black, gold, and white, which technically that's not monochromatic. I just listed 3 colors, didn't I? But you know what I mean. But maybe for the shadow, or maybe this is even like deeper ancestry, because as I've mentioned before in my bag of bones, what's in the bag video, in my dumb bones pouch where I originally kept the Santa Muerta, and will continue to, and I think that now I'm making space for the Marigold Tarot. But I mentioned how I do like the Santa Muerta, even though I'm not from Mexico originally. It is representing North America to me, and I am from the United States, and I live in the United Kingdom, and it's just a way for making me feel a little bit more attached with that landmass that I consider home across the ocean. Whereas this goes further afield even to Asia, and I don't know, I have haven't done an ancestry kit to know just how far to other countries and continents my ancestry stretches, but I feel like there's just a sense that I get from this deck, whether I have lineage stemming from Asia or not. As this is a Punjabi-inspired deck, the cultural elements run throughout. It's hard to explain it, but I just get this sense of like an even deeper ancestral line through that deck somehow, whether there's any merit in that in my actual lineage or not. This just makes me think more of the generations of people that I have personally known or at least know of, like the more recent generations. And then this just gives me a sense of going even deeper back where I wouldn't have a chance of knowing any of those people by name or how we might be related, whether that's ancestors of blood, but then also ancestors of place that I might not even be aware of. I don't know. And maybe it is just like the darkness of the coloration of that one that just has that like sense of being that much further removed from my present life where I live now and have lived myself. I don't know. I'm totally rambling on this and I don't know. I have not worked with them enough. I've already been working with this for ancestor work, but I still have to dabble with this one and see just what kind of feel I get for it. And I end up just wanting to use it for some other purpose entirely. And I imagine that should be the case. I mean, both of these decks can be fairly versatile, but those were my initial thoughts in acquiring both of them, was that it would be for ancestor work. So we'll see where this week gets me. And then to the right over here, I've got my Memento Mori Oracle, which I also have shown in my previous video. Claire Goodchild, same creator as the Antique Anatomy Tarot, which I do not have, but I'm okay with that. I've got a lot of tarot decks, but this was a really nice way of being able to work with her artwork because, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. I love the vintage look of everything. So how about we actually take a look at it? All right. Okay, so as always seems inevitable under my skylight, I am getting a bit of a glare here, so apologies for that. But luckily this deck, this Marigold Tarot, is a gorgeous linen cardstock. So that reduces some of the glossiness that you can have. But anyway, now I've got the Memento Mori Oracle situated at the center just to show how it could pair with one or the other of these decks. I don't know yet if I would do a spread using all of these cards together. I think that could be fun to play with, but I think in terms of these two and these two, that could certainly work out okay. I have also been using the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle for a couple of these ancestor readings so far, which I've been enjoying. It's not like a direct aesthetic match with any of these, but I just think that the theme of it, the messaging is, they've been speaking very well together so far. I will just show a few of these cards from each of these decks and kind of move forward from there as to why my video today is titled November Nomad. So obviously I'm running with a theme this month. I imagine that there are many decks that would work amazingly well for ancestry, and I'm not trying to be irreverent by sticking to skeleton decks for such work, but there is just something about the appearance of these skeletons, but living skeletons. They're in motion, they're wearing clothing, they're still acting as if they are alive, and there's just such power to that visual of that cycle of life and death, and life after death, if that coincides with your perspectives on that. It may not, but I personally do believe in a life after death. I don't know precisely what form that takes exactly, but I do think that there is something about us and a consciousness that survives us after our death. And so therefore, same with our loved ones. I wouldn't be doing the ancestor work, I don't think, if I didn't believe that there weren't souls out there from my family, from my lineage, however close or distant, that are out there and helping to guide me, along with other spirit guides, or that I can call for guidance as needed. And that's what I'm attempting now. I have done ancestor readings before. I have never really done a real deep dive into it though. And so that's where I'm really interested in continuing to work through this ancestral tarot book, just to see. I don't even know what to expect from this journey, honestly. But one thing I found very interesting was in doing the preliminary readings, and I will proceed to pull more cards and show more artwork eventually, but just that there were 3 types of ancestors that you are called to call upon, basically. And it could be ancestors of blood, ancestors of place, and ancestors of time. And I ended up getting drawn to the ancestors of time, which I didn't see coming at all. I thought for sure it'd be something where I would want to be working within my own like line, or along the line of where I'm originally from geographically. But to get this across time, where this could be guidance from other lives I have lived. I just, it's such a different spin on it that I was expecting, but doing the reading as suggested in the book, that gives some direction on where to go with that and how to choose. It's just where instinctively I was pulled. So that's where I'm going to go with that. And I don't know to what extent I will share this journey. I guess I'm curious just to see what all it might unearth for me. But I'll try to share from time to time if it's something that I feel able to, and I don't feel like it's something too sensitive or even just, boring for you. Like, why might you care? But if I end up having like a mind-blowing reading that I just can't contain myself about, I'll probably end up saying something about it. So in the meantime, let's go back to these decks. It's interesting just looking at just some of the imagery alone, and I guess also taking into account what the card is supposed to be, but I see the crossbones here kind of echoing this crisscross of the scissors here in this 2 of Swords. The center card that we've got here with the Oracle card is Memento Mori. And so that is our continual reminder to remember that one day we will die. And that's just like the whole essence of why I want to be working with these decks right now. That's, coming out of Halloween where I was just celebrating the fun of that. And watching like scary movies, whether it's the old slashers or the paranormal shows. That's like the fun part of safely facing our fears, right? I mean, I believe that's the whole like psychology behind it and why we are so drawn to things like that. We like to be scared, confront our fears in a safe environment where we know we're going to make it out okay, and then we kind of can have that rush of survival, and we're still alive, and you can just feel gratitude for that. And I'm sure none of us are like consciously thinking of it that way when we're absorbing these shows, but that is kind of the idea of what's going on there. So anyways, I think coming off of that, like the fun side of that with Halloween, where it is just all fun and entertainment, entering into November now as we're getting to All Souls Day, November 2nd, that follows All Saints Day of the 1st. Just a more somber time of thinking of the reality of those who have passed on before us, but then also how we too will also one day pass on ourselves. And I like this though being flanked by a sense of hope and healing with the star, that all is not lost. There's the physical decay and we'll lose that materiality of what we have, but then the swords to me points to that consciousness that can stay behind. And it just kind of, to me, I'm just getting this like crossroads of, just contemplating that, like this life, and if there is that next life beyond, and where those two intersect, and where my beliefs lie on that. And so it is certainly a time for me where I'm trying to now tune out the chatter of all my fun movies and books and other stories and whatnot that I've been consuming just to play for Halloween, and just really like going within to see how I feel about all of this, what I think about it, and to, of course, reflect on and honor those who've gone before and may be continuing to guide me. So just to show a few more cards. I love how the cups in the Marigold Tarot use these skulls as the cups, and I believe that we see the same in the Santa Muerta Tarot as well. Okay, I just had to flip through a bit to find one, but look at this Two of Cups. They're filling each other's cups. Aww, so beautiful. And it's kind of fun to see the image of the teapot adjacent to cups like that. Like however you might interpret this symbol pouring in. I often see tea as like comfort and just sort of like a measure you could take for self-care. Those are, it's like a couple of my associations that I have for it. And so that just seems so nice, like Eight of Cups, where you're having to walk away from a situation, and this is a way to pour in, how to fill your cup again with what you need, what is going to fulfill you from this point and help you get to that higher ground that you're seeking now as you move on to that next stage. And here we've got the Two of Pentacles, and what I really love about this deck is that it does make me consider non-traditional interpretations sometimes, because I just think there's so much you can take away from the imagery. And I really get the same vibe from the Marigold Tarot as well. It can follow Rider-Waite-Smith to an extent, but it definitely goes its own direction as well. And so it's really nice to just be able to read more intuitively, and that's what I find myself doing. I have the guidebooks for everything, but in any case, in view of like what I just said about these two cards, I see that sense of transformation with this butterfly, these two skulls combined, completing that butterfly and kind of bringing that transformation into being, or at least that earlier stage of how that could come about. And this is directly echoed over here, how these skulls face each other. And I think that, and I'm seeing here too, like these are turning away from what no longer serves. And then now looking within, perhaps confronting another side of yourself and just kind of coming to this realization of what's not suiting anymore and what direction you want to take, and kind of, shedding that layer of what no longer works, what has been throwing you out of balance and will help you regain that. Just talking off the top of my head. This image here for the Five of Cups is why I ended up choosing to work with the ancestors of time this time around for my ancestor work, because I was just so compelled by this. I mean, Five of Cups is definitely a card that resonates for me greatly this year. It has come up for me quite a bit across several decks, and I expect it to continue to recur. And just this labyrinth that we see here inside the skull, and how the skeleton is partially submerged in the water here, and this like moonlit sky. It's just so beautiful. I could not find myself looking away from it. So truth be told, it's a huge reason why I went with it, and also because of what this card has meant for me this particular year. It's interesting to me that might be healing that I could receive by looking back through time. And I don't even know where I stand on that idea of past lives, to be honest with you. What I can say is that it's something I'm open to. There's a lot about it that does make sense to me, and so I'm going into it with a spirit of belief. and we'll see where it goes from there. So the idea that I could possibly find healing from this other time, I don't know. Like I said, I'll see how it goes. So you can see how the marigold is a bit more pip style when it comes to the minors. But it's neat. There's still other visuals going on that you can draw meaning from. Oh wow, this is a neat grouping where you see the Fool embarking on that journey, but it's almost like he's got to travel through the haze of this smoke to get to that clarity and joy of the sun, where he may then fiesta. It's just neat because this is a case where it's like I can see it almost like a storyboard going, a progression moving like that. Where like a 3-card reading, there's so many ways that you can read it, right? And you can give them all specific meanings, but sometimes it's just great to throw 3 cards down and just see, do you see a story being told left to right? Okay, so I think I'm going to leave it at that for the decks currently on my November tarot table. Sadly, I am only going to be working with these for the week. I guess I could work with them throughout the month too. My predicament is that I am going to be traveling back to the States to spend pretty much the rest of the month with my family. I'm going to go back through Thanksgiving, and I don't know. I have decks at my mom's house already, and so I don't typically care to travel with decks there these days, just because I know I've got those ones there, and I also have ones that I have ordered that I've had delivered there, because it was either cheaper to have it shipped to the States, or I could only have it shipped there instead of the UK. And so I know I'm going to be toting some back with me. So it's like if I bring decks there, then I'm going to have to be hauling even more back with me. And so therein kind of lies my dilemma. So I'm going to see how this week goes, and then just see if there's one of these that is like really, really calling to me and asking to be worked with through the rest of this month. I will see if I get that feel. Otherwise, I was also considering that if I were to bring a deck with me, I might like change things up by, further fleshing this out, so to speak. Pun fully intended. By changing up and pulling another deck, but that's something that still evokes like that sense of ancestry for me. And so why don't I show you a couple of contenders for that? Okay, so I definitely am going to get a glare on this one because these are rather glossy, but what I've got here are the Relative Tarot and the Carte Postale Tarot, and this is another recent acquisition of mine. These are also two that I wonder if will end up feeling a little redundant in my collection, or if they will end up just being a pair that I love to use together, or if I just do see enough of a distinction between them to use them for different purposes. I don't know. This is just going to be one of those like compare, contrast, and see how it goes. But here's the similarity between them. So as you can see, we now have our ancestors fleshed out, so to speak. And look it, so am I. How'd that happen? Neat. Movie magic, folks. Okay, I gotta stop. I'm being so corny right now. Zoom out just a tad. But both of these decks, okay, I'll hold it up to avoid that glare. Or can I don't know. But anyway, both of these are created using vintage photos. This one is really cool. What I really like about the Relative Tarot is that it very much incorporates Rider-Waite-Smith elements to the point of you can see Pamela Coleman Smith's artwork in it if you really look sometimes, like 6 of Wands. Here we've got that wreath there and the wands. then sometimes it's just a photo that fits. But let's see if I can find one where you really... Okay, so you can see she's standing, but these are the swords. I mean, these are the actual swords from the original RWS, as is this one. So, what am I doing here? I can't even lay my cards down consistently. Ugh, jeez. I was more nimble-fingered with my skeleton hands. But yeah, Two of Cups. So I really like that. I don't know. And it is different. Like that just kind of distinguishes it from this. And so I don't know. I feel like sometimes if I do want to work with traditional RWS, but then like just have that bit of a twist, I really like this play on it. And these images are just so gorgeous as well. And I pulled the trigger on this one. I'm calling this Elisa Made Me Do It. I saw Lisa Pepez use this for one of her Learning Tarot Basics courses. Well, it's not her. She has courses that she offers that you can enroll in and pay for, and then she offers like a free taster of that at her channel. And one of them was just an introduction to reading intuitively, and she had pulled this deck because you really can see, you know, such expressiveness in these people and the scenarios that they might be in, that it really does lend itself well to like not even really having to pay attention to the title necessarily, to get your gears going on who these people might be, what the situation might be, and what that might mean for you. And so I fell in love with it. You can kind of escape the traditional meanings if you wanted to, but I don't see that as detracting from this. Like sometimes I want to lean into the more traditional, and so I just, I don't know. I have a feeling that I'm going to end up just loving both of these and being maybe in the mood for one versus another for whatever reason at different times. And yeah, and I don't know, they look pretty side by side, so I might even pair them together in readings. I'm not really sure, but if I were to travel, you know, with a deck to the States this month for the rest of November, I would just pick one. I don't want to overload myself too much, and I think it's very fitting I said overload as I have the 10 of Wands here. But the reason I would choose from either of these, though, is that I still get this sense of ancestry here. We've got these people of the past, and, you know, they're not my relatives, at least not as far as I'm aware of. Who knows? Wouldn't that be something? But, you know, I'm not related to these people, but I like this sense of reaching back to the past through these photos. It gives me that sense of connection to previous generations, and it's only going so far back. But the coloration of everything too just really feels autumnal to me, and November to me, as things are going to start to wane into winter and heading into Thanksgiving, and that being a time of family and a lot of memories of how we used to celebrate Thanksgiving every year at my grandma's, and now it's at my mom's, and someday it's going to be someone else's duty to host. And you know, that just kind of evolution through time and tradition. Either one of these, I feel like, can really embrace that too. Oh God, I love this Lover's card. This deck actually came with another option, but this is just so fabulous to me. I like this spin on the Three of Swords in the Relative Tarot because, you know, it doesn't always mean heartbreak necessarily when you're thinking of the swords. And so seeing this guy pierced through the head kind of brings it back to that realm of the mind. But yeah, so then my thought is, if I were to bring one of these back with me, I would want an oracle pairing, of course. And I do have oracle decks that I keep at my mama's, at least a couple of them. But, you know, they wouldn't aesthetically match this really. So I could either tote my vintage wisdom with me, or indulge me, if you will. I usually see people show this one with the borders hacked off of it because that is a massive brown border. I get it. I understand. But I think that, I don't know, it's never really bothered me. I actually don't mind seeing the image contained like this, but there are times when I think, oh, would it be nice though now and then just to be free of that? I don't know. And so, this is like available and inexpensively enough mass market that I was thinking I could order a copy to be sent to my mom's house and then trim that one while I'm there. So I'm gonna be there, a few weeks. I'll have some downtime to be able to do that. Of course, I am a huge dork about this stuff that I actually do have a trimmer there now too. I ended up getting that in the spring because I was there for a long time and kind of wanted to escape into deck mods. So I keep an extra trimmer at her house. But I mean, yeah, this is beautiful, right? So I just feel like, if I brought one or the other of these, I would definitely want to have this oracle with me too. And this was one of my first oracles. I still love it so much that I think this would be a great one to have a second copy of. So yes. The light is waning outside. I have turned some lights on in here. I'm avoiding my ring light though for whatever reason. So I will just wrap this up before it gets too dark. But this whole vibe I just think will be lovely for November. So looking at it now, I am feeling really tempted to do this. But if I need to travel light, I know that there's other decks waiting for me across the sea, so I can just hold out, and I'm sure my ancestors won't mind if I were to continue my work with another type of deck that maybe doesn't so directly evoke ancestry for me. We'll see. So yes, that's why I am the November Nomad, because I don't know exactly which decks I'll be using throughout the month because I am traveling. And that's just the way it goes when I travel. And it's okay. It's good to be resilient on this stuff. Can't always have every deck I want when I want it, okay? It's just better to learn that lesson now. Or in my case, learn it always, because I am very frequently back and forth. C'est ma vie, you could say. So thank you so much if you joined me today. Sorry, I kind of threw this together. I feel like my production quality is a little shoddy here, but I am so grateful if you stuck with me. I was just kind of rolling with it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to film a video today, but because I am going to be packing soon and getting going, I thought I got to do it sooner rather than later if I want to get a video up this week. So yeah, if I zoom back out a little. I hope that you are all doing well. If you are also doing ancestor work at this time, or if you've just done it any time, I would love to hear your experiences with that in the comments and what decks you use with it, or if you use another tool in order to facilitate those conversations, if you will. And I will be posting at least 2 other videos through this month, but the fact that I will be traveling, it might be difficult to get something together. So in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful November, and also hope to see you soon. Bye!